Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and indeed welcome to Ford Fridays. Today we'll be looking at the Ford Cortina Mark IV. Welcome back, and if you're new to Quarterlight, we look at car brochures from around the world, so if that interests you, please consider subscribing. Now today is Ford Friday, so we're looking at the Ford Cortina Mark IV, which actually was a viewer request video. Now the Mark IV Cortina came out on the 29th of September 76. The brochure we're going to look at is actually from October 77, so just a little bit more than a year after its launch. Now, the Ford Cortina was a much more conventional, the Ford Cortina Mark IV was a much more conventional car than the Mark III, with very straight lines, but it was kind of like in vogue, kind of like the fashion of its time. It fitted in quite nicely with those square lines. But really, it was just a rebodied Mark III with very little mechanical change. But anyway, let's have a look at today's brochure. Okay, so we start off here, the Ford Cortina Mark IV in Ghia guise, but we'll look at the different trim levels in a moment. But what we'll concentrate first off is the text underneath. It says, when a car is well engineered as the Cortina, you can feel it as soon as you take the wheel. You can feel it in the way the car rides and holds the road, smoothly and firmly. Reliable, economical engines, precise steering control, safe, reliable handling with variable rate rear coil springs, swift gear change, fast response to whatever demands you make on the car. The Cortina range offers a choice of 5 saloons and 4 estate cars. All the models have a carpet, cigar lighter, driver's door mirror, remote control on the Cortina gear, hazard warning flashes, servo assisted front disc brakes and improved ventilation system. The famous engineering skill of Ford and all these standard features go together to make the Ford Cortina one of the most practical and luxurious cars in Europe. A car that's built to last. Built to last, we'll have a little bit of a talk about in a moment, I think. Okay, so base models of the Cortina Saloon, which is, not even the L, and the Cortina L, if you wanted that tiny little bit of a few little extras. It also shows this 2-door Cortina, which is a very rare car. I don't think they sold too well. In some places in Europe, they actually sold this as a coupe, but a 2-door, it always looks a little bit awkward, I think, on the back. And of course we have the Capri, so I'm not sure how much point the Cortina 2-door was, and like I say, it didn't sell very well at all. So a rare car today. Talking about rare cars, the Ford Cortina Mark IV is apparently the rarest today of all the Cortinas. It did have severe rust issues, so they didn't last that long, and also apparently they were well used in banger racing as well, so I'm sure that got rid of the rest of them. But a very rare car today, but certainly a 2-door Cortina would be a rare sight in Mark IV guys. And I think they kind of like looked at the rust issues of the Mark IV and kind of like corrected some of those in the Mark V, although the Mark V even had a lot of rust issues as well. But sadly, a lot of these Mark IV Cortinas have been lost, so like I say, a rare car today. We'll have a look at some of these images and then we'll have a quick look at the specifications down this side as well. So there we go, Cortina Saloon and Cortina L, well equipped and built to last. Like I said, we don't really like to dwell too much on the negatives of a car, so let's not mention rust and let's just look at that as a car to last and just accept what it's saying in this brochure. So we've got a 1300 economy or a 1600 economy engine plus a 1600 OHC standard engine on the Cortina L. Servo assisted front disc brakes, heated rear window, reversing lights, radial ply tyres, fabric trim and reclining front seats on the Cortina L. It's kind of strange, you don't even get reclining seats on the non-L, which is a little bit unusual. That could be a little bit uncomfortable, I guess. Nice size boot. This is showing the Cortina Saloon, not even the L. And then we get the nice image of what I do believe would be the L version. I think that's the L. And then an interior shot. Extremely basic though, aren't they? Very, very basic car. We get a nice yellow 1.3L. So that's a lovely car, isn't it, in that yellow colour. And just a 1.3, showing that little bit of a fog light that isn't integrated, it's just hanging off the rear bumper there. I do like the chrome bumpers on the Mark IV though. And then we get that not even an L two-door, and like I said, some people probably love these, so I'm not going to say anything negative about them, but I just can always find them a little bit awkward on the rear end in two-door guys. Although you could get the Cortina Saloon as an L as well, as indeed you could get the so you can get the four-door as an L and the two-door as an L if you wanted, is what I'm trying to say. And you can also get the four-door as not even an L. Does that make sense? And I kind of think there's a little bit of an image here of that actually, and it's kind of like showing you can get them both as the two-door or the four-door versions as the L or just the saloon model. Hard to tell really from that image any sort of differences from the outside, although you can see on the L it's got this little bit of like a pinstripe, some kind of tape stripe down the side, where the not even an L doesn't have anything at all on there, does it? But anyway, let's have a look at some of these specifications. I'm not going to read it all, but we'll go through it. And I guess I should also mention, shouldn't I, the more obvious difference, the wheels, of course, a very basic steel wheel on that super basic saloon, and you know, a much nicer wheel on the L, although still a steel wheel that would, no, we won't say the word rust. Let's have a look at that specification now. Okay, so the specifications, I'm not going to read it all, but we'll just slowly go down there. I'm going to go quite slow, but of course you can also pause the screen at any time if you wish to do so. So I don't know if you saw it there, but the colours, this is Bermuda blue, and if we go down, this is signal yellow, and it tells us that it's actually the signal colour is an optional extra, as is that fog light, as are those special wheels, interestingly enough. We then get to the GL model. I always thought the GL was always a nice step up from the very basic L. We'll look at some of these images before looking at the specifications in a moment. Okay, so the Cortina GL, elegance in a car that's built to last. So now we've got a 1600, a 2 litre or a 2.3 litre V6 engine, which came out in 77, and it's kind of like advertising it here now available with this 2.3 litre V6. And well, it wasn't a popular choice at all. It really didn't sell very well in the UK. It was obviously smoother and more refined than the 2 litre, but it was also a much first-year engine and, you know, a higher insurance group, and really it didn't have much, very slightly faster, yes, but not a huge difference. So, like I said, be rare to find that 2.3 V6 on a Mark IV today. Furthermore, we've got these sports road wheels. We saw it as an option on the L, it's now standard on the GL. Halogen headlamps, forward push button radio, hooray we got a radio, intermittent wipe controls and reclining front seats with a much nicer premium fabric trim. As you can see when you look up here, you've got this sort of like a fake wood, but overall a nicer interior. And the main shot is of this Cortina GL. Interestingly, this is diamond white actually, but interestingly it's showing a vinyl roof, but the vinyl roof actually wasn't a standard equipment, it was an optional extra. And it's also showing this has got a black interior, but when we look further down we can see this particular one has got this sort of tan fabric. I think it's called tan diamond fabric trim on this one. The colour here, if you're interested, is Jupiter red, although we get a nicer look at that Jupiter red colour later on in the brochure. And then we get a look at the side view. Again, it's telling us that this fog light is actually an optional extra, but we can also notice it's got these, rather than a stripe, it's an actual proper rubber strip going down the length of the car just to protect it against supermarket road rash. But anyway, let's have a look at the specifications. As before, I'll slowly go down there if you want to read it, and of course you can pause it if you wish to. And that takes us to what would be a very rare car today, the Mark IV Cortina S. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so the Cortina S, performance in a car that's built to last. So we've got the 2 litre or that new 2.3 litre V6, twin 5.5 halogen driving lamps, and then we've got this low profile tyres on these sport road wheels, upgraded suspension and gas shock absorbers, head restraints, unique seat trim and a forward push button radio. Okay, and then we get a look of this S, and it does look very nice here, although you'd note and that rubber strip has gone what the GL had. We've now gone back to a stripe, and in a typical Ford way, all the chrome has been removed for now black. Black in Ford's view means sporty, chrome is luxury, so we don't want chrome on this one, it's a sporty car. Looks very good, although actually there's quite a few extras on this particular model. That colour there is Strato Silver, which is a metallic, would have been an optional extra. That rear fog lamp is still an optional extra at this time. We've also got, very interestingly here, headlamp wash. That would have been an optional extra, although I don't know how many people optioned that wash on there, because I don't think I remember a Mark IV with headlamp wash. The vinyl roof is an optional extra. That sliding roof, little sunroof there, optional extra. And apparently there's an optional extra remote control door mirror, although you can't really see it anyway. And we've got those, what they refer to as the sporty wheels. Typical S fashion, we've got these nice halogen driving lamps as standard though, and these seats do look particularly good, don't they? I do like the S seats. We get a couple more images of this particular model, a little bit of a front view at sunset and a little bit of a rear view. You can see sort of like the darkened rear on that as well. So yeah, a pretty rare car today for sure. It's also showing it in this yellow, which looks very good, a nice sporty colour. But again, this yellow is an optional extra. The signal colours were an optional extra. Kind of like strange, isn't it, having the yellow as an optional extra, but certainly looks good and a nice sporty colour. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the specifications. Okay, so the specifications as before, we'll slowly go down there. If you want to read it, you can do. If you want to read it in detail, you can always pause the screen. And that brings us to the car you aspired to have, the Cortina Ghia, the top of the range at this time, available as a 2 litre or that new 2.3 V6. And it doesn't show it in this brochure, but I do believe you can actually get the Ghia as a 1.6, possibly soon after this, although it was a very unpopular choice. The 2 litre was the model that sold. But anyway, let's have a look at some of this information. Okay, the Cortina Ghia, luxury in a car that's built to last. So we've got all-round tinted glass, luxury interior trim, forward push-button radio. That vinyl roof is now standard equipment for the first time. We've got reclining front seats with head restraints and contoured rear seats with centre armrest. So here is the main shot of the Cortina Ghia. You can just about make out the Ghia badge there, and this is Jupiter red, which we glimpsed at earlier on, and because it's a metallic paint, this would have been an optional paint colour. Again, even the rear fog lamp would have been an optional extra. Then fog lamps obviously became standard equipment when it became a legal requirement. It's hard to see, but there is a sliding roof on this, which is an optional extra. This is the automatic. Again, that would have been an optional extra. And you can make out that headlamp wash, a very rare optional extra. And there is a picture of that optional manual sliding roof and a front view of that Cortina Ghia too. And we also get a nice little rear shot of that Cortina. But if we come down, we get an interior shot. This particular Ghia is actually in Roman bronze. Again, would have been an optional extra paint due to it being a metallic. And you can just make out this is an automatic as well, so that would have been an optional extra as well. Let's look at some of the specifications. So I will slowly move down the list, but of course you can pause it if you wish. Brings us to the estates, the Cortina estate cars, all on one page, and all the trim levels actually. The very basic one that's just called the estate car, the L, GL and the Ghia. So let's have a look at some of this. Okay, Cortina estate cars, some of the country's best planned estates. Top hinge counterbalance tailgates, 4 doors with childproof locks on rear window, radial ply tyres, heated rear window, servo assisted front disc brakes, tailgate wash wipe on the L, GL and the Ghia. And we've got a nice little image of one of those estates in family use, and they were a very practical family vehicle, of course. This is the GL model. Again, it's one of the colours we've already looked at, Roman bronze, which would mean metallic, which would mean optional extra. You just about make out the fog lamp, optional extra, and of course, obviously much larger this time, that large vinyl roof would have been extra equipment as well. Okay, and the specifications. Then we get the specification for the 1300, the 1600 economy, the 1600 2 litre and that 2.3 V6. And as we go down there, it'll also show us all the specifications, or options I should say, on this page as well. So if we move down the page, these are also the options as well. The blue square is meaning that's optional. If it's sort of like this square like that, that will mean that it's standard equipment. So we'll go down this page as well. So that's the end of today's episode for the Ford Cortina Mk IV, and indeed the end of Ford Fridays. Let me know in the comments of your experiences of the Mk IV Cortina, and please do like and subscribe. We'll see you very soon. Take care and goodbye.